The genre that was adhered in advanced production is that the common prop associated with child horror was used, such as knife and teddy. The teddy was the motif and carried a subliminal message throughout the movie. In Chucky, the doll is the most important prop, so in our short horror film, we use the idea of the teddy being the most important prop. Annabelle also uses a doll to scare the audience, which we also did in Bitter Revenge. The location used was a graveyard, which is another convention of horror, because it is a scary setting and the audience are aware something unexpected and frightening will happen. In The Orphan, there is the idea of the child being in a classroom to show the innocence. Bitter Revenge has a scene where the flashback takes place in the classroom to show the innocence of the villain that was being bullied. Another convention that was adhered was the use of the villain, which every short horror film has. For example, Insidious, the villain is the evil spirit. Another convention that was adhered to was Bart's Enigma code, which we used throughout the short horror film to keep the audience in suspense and in fear what will happen next. Moreover, another convention that was adhered was the narrative, which was the concept of revenge, which most horror films are based on. However, the revenge is taken on the specific characters that bullied Nyla. From the short horror film that I have watched on YouTube, it shows how short horror films use more sound to develop the feeling of fear the audience should feel, because there is less time and this leaves a passive audience as they feel anxious to know what will happen next. In Bitter Revenge, there is a lot of sound that builds on tension with the characters doubting themselves. We developed the idea of a non-linear narrative, whereas most films follow a linear narrative because it is disrupted by flashbacks to show why the character is taking revenge and to see it from her point of view. In child horror, the child is usually the victim being troubled by the villain. However, in this case, the child is the one taking revenge. Our film developed the horror conventions of the good versus bad team. We had the good characters and the bad characters. As the film goes on, the audience find out the villain of the film was originally the victim who committed suicide because of being bullied. We developed the horror convention of the villain having a motive for their attack on the victims of the film. Our villain comes back to get revenge from her bullies due to everything she went through because of them. Our film developed a horror convention of the good versus bad team. Todora's equilibrium theory is challenged because the problem at the end is not resolved and the audience are left in a cliffhanger. We challenged by having no hero, which typically comes to save the day. Another convention that was adhered to was having the victims as the ones who are seen as the villain at the end because they are punished. Our poster used the horror poster convention of using dark, gloomy colors. We decided that the main colors on our poster would be black, grey and red because these colors portray danger and fear. Almost all horror films such as Insidious and Orphan also used gloomy colors in the film poster. This decision was also influenced by our audience feedback, for which we complied a survey for our target audience to see what they would like from our poster. We found out that target audience also wanted to use dark, dull colors because that gave off spookier vibes. This instantly lets the audience know the poster is advertising for a horror shot. We developed our poster by having an extreme close-up shot of an object or person as the main image. For example, the poster for Carrie uses a close-up image of the main character face as the main image, and Candyman uses a close-up of an eye. Moreover, the front of our title is primary colors. We challenge the usual convention colors. For example, Paranormal Activity uses the colors white, red and black. Our radio trailer used the typical radio conventions of having a male presenter with a deep American accent. We chose
the scariest horror film of the season. Be prepared for a hair-raising, eye-popping and nail-biting thrill of horror. It all started off with 4 ordinary girls living in an ordinary world. But little did they know that this camping trip was the last adventure they'd ever take. As danger approached them.
What's that sound?
How could you think such a sweet, innocent girl could be so terrifying? Bitter Revenge, coming to cinemas soon.
Gave our trailer more of a Hollywood type effect, which from statistics shows to be more successful than independent British films. Therefore, we adhered to the convention of having a male presenter on our radio trailer. We also used the radio trailer convention of including dialogue from the actual film into the trailer so the audience can get a feel of what the film will include. Our trailer also had a start, middle and end, as it starts off slow and builds up into a climax and then slows down again, leaving the audience wanting more. Our radio trailer challenged the typical conventions of radio trailers, as we did not reveal our release date to the audience like other trailers do. Instead, our narrator just said coming soon.
Revenge, coming to cinemas soon.
Moreover, we added the noise of a siren to put the audience in suspense and fear what will happen because of the siren, as siren indicates danger.
How could you think such a sweet, innocent girl could be so terrifying?
Another way we have challenged the horror convention is that we decided to add a black and white filter to our film, apart from the flashbacks, which goes against how all horror films in the 21st century are coloured. This is intertextual to movies made in the 1920s, for example, Nosferatu.
Question 2. My film poster and radio trailer connect with each other because they have the same subgenre of child horror. The poster title had red blood dripping down, which makes it clear to the audience that there will be violence involved. The tagline on the poster, "You play with me, I play with you." This suggests that the film may be about a child wanting to play, almost a disturbed child, which our audience suggested they want from our survey results. Film title, Bitter Revenge, suggests that the film is about revenge, which is a typical theme of child horror. Therefore, the poster connects to the film. From the radio trailer I analysed on YouTube, I noticed that horror film trailers have a lot of sound effects to add tension to engage the audience. Therefore, in our radio trailer, there is a part where the girls are giggling, and this is shown visually in our short horror film when the girls are laughing around the campfire.
Four ordinary girls living in an ordinary world. But little did they know that
the film trailer connects to the film. After receiving the audience feedback, the audience suggested it would be more appealing if the image was large and in the center. Therefore, we kept the picture of our villain in the center and big. The tagline is just beneath to add a sense of fear to the audience. To release our film, I would put posters around everywhere, share the URL on the short horror film through social media platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, and WhatsApp. We used the lullaby the villain sings in the movie in our radio trailer to show a clear connection between the three. From the survey, we found that our target audience wanted films that are set in scary locations such as haunted house. So we set our film in the graveyard. Our target audience also wanted supernatural incidents involved in horror films. Therefore, our main character is brought back from the dead to take revenge. As our target audience was mainly teenage girls, they did not want anything too thrilling, as most of them watch horror films to be entertained. So the film was not too violent and no weapons were visually seen going into any of the characters. Therefore, we classified it as a 12A. After conducting a survey on horror film posters for our target audience, we found that more than 90% of our target audience is most attracted to a film poster due to the image. We took a close-up shot of the villain of our film with the main prop, the doll, reflecting in her eye for our poster. Our target audience said they would associate black and red with child horror. This is why our entire poster, apart from the title, is in dark, gloomy colors. After conducting a survey on horror films for radio trailers, we found that our target audience are only influenced by radio trailers to watch the film if the trailer is descriptive and enough for them to create a picture in their head of the incidents taking place. This is why we have added dialogues from the actual film and many sound effects to make it as realistic as possible for the audience listening to imagine what is happening.
What's that sound?
The audience also said that they like to hear a bit of silence in the radio trailer because it creates a bit of mystery and gets them wondering what would happen next. When asked about sound effects, they said they would like to hear sounds such as screams, footsteps, and whispers. We took this into account and added screams and whispers to our radio trailer to give the audience a taste of what is to come. Most of the audience said that they wanted to hear creepy music in the background to create a threatening atmosphere. So we decided to add dramatic music to our radio trailer to make it more effective. Audience theories. The hypodermic needle was used. This injects the audience how bullying can have a serious effect on people. As Nyla committed suicide, bullying can lead to many things and it should be stopped before it's too late. The gratification theory informs about bullying and what it can lead to. Shows what people that are bullied go through. For example, depression, which then can lead to other social factors such as suicide. I included an enigma code in my film because it created an active audience rather than a passive one. The flashback makes the audience think about what's happening next in the current scene and how it links back to the flashback. A non-linear narrative as flashback interrupts. This is used to engage the audience. This is seen in the horror film The Ring. Question 4. For my research, I used the internet to watch horror films on Netflix to analyze the typical conventions used and challenged in these movies. This helped narrow down what I will include in my short horror film. I used SoundCloud when I recorded my target audience group, giving feedback on what they would like included in our radio trailer. This gave an insight on what our target audience would prefer and don't. I used SurveyMonkey for our research when finding out what our target audience would expect in our poster and film. From this, we gained crucial knowledge in our target audience's interests with the child horror subgenre. I used Google Images to analyze other horror films posters because our subgenre was child horror. I looked into Chucky's poster and saw the doll has the main intention on the poster. We used the internet and a software called The Font to pick up our font title for planning our poster and what type of font styles should be used. We used an iPhone to record a visual interview with our film practitioner to get opinions on sound and what makes a good horror film. We got an insight of the main elements we should include. We then uploaded it on YouTube as a clip with We also use Google Image to see existing horror films and analyze them to see what looks engaging in the poster, so we could add the same but as the type of colors incorporated that caught our attention and the type of imagery used. We use YouTube to listen to different sound effects so we can incorporate scary sounds and mysterious music into our radio trailer. We also listened to existing film trailers and heard out for the type of sound that was present even when silence is used to portray something is gone wrong. We used the DSL Canon camera to record our movie with, and we changed the camera settings throughout the film when shooting in the graveyard and adjusted it to the setting called Tungsten to give it more horror film and grungy appearance. We connected the mic onto our camera so the sound is very clear when producing our film. Moreover, so the camera catches every little sound. This links back to Bart's Enigma code of the use of sound creating tension throughout the movie. For one scene, we used lighting to film a bedroom scene in Lana's bedroom to make the scene brighter and clear because the lighting in the bedroom was not as good, and because we had different locations, the brightness had to be the same throughout the movie. To edit our short horror film, we used Final Cut, where we put all our recorded footage from the Canon DSLR camera. We used many tools on Final Cut, such as the blading tool to separate clips that were not needed. We also put voiceovers from previous clips to ensure that our sound was well matched, and we got to edit out any errors by applying sound layering on top of it. This technology also allowed us to use slow motion in the point of the flashback, and also we changed the color picture to indicate the past. We used Photoshop to create our poster by adding the photos we took for our poster. We also used GarageBand to edit Taylor Swift blank space to match the visual screen.